So when talking about integers, specifically how to multiply and divide them, there are a couple things we need to keep in mind. So when we're multiplying or dividing integers, we simply multiply or divide the numbers, and then we determine their signs. So over here on the right-hand side, we've kind of created a guide, if you will, of what happens when you multiply two positives. Well, the end result is positive. What happens when you multiply two negatives? The end result is positive. And negative times a positive gives us a negative, and a positive times a negative also gives us a negative. And then we have the division down here as well. Positive divided by positive is a positive. Positive divided by a negative gives us a negative. And we can see the other two examples here as well. So why is negative times negative a positive? Well, if we're thinking about it like with words, he is not unintelligent. Well, that kind of simply means he is intelligent. I'm not feeling bad, that translation would be to feeling good, right? So we have double negatives when we talk about language. It's the same kind of thing. We're like, well, double negative is a positive. So if we use that in numeracy, 6 times 3, that's both are positive, straightforward, gives us 18. Negative 4 times negative 3, well, both of those are negative. We know that it gives us a positive. 4 times 3 is 12. We have negative 2 times negative 3. Well, negative times a negative gives us a positive. But then we have a positive times a negative. So we're back to a negative again. 2 times 3 times 6 is 36. So we get negative 36. 10 divided by negative 2, a positive divided by a negative, and then do the math for the numbers, would be negative 5. Negative 44 divided by 11 times negative 6. Well, negative 44 divided by 11 gives us negative 4, and that's still being multiplied by negative 6. Negative times a negative gives us a positive number. And negative 2 times negative 100, all divided by negative 5 squared, or negative 5 times negative 5. Negative 2 times negative 100 gives us positive 200. Negative 5 times negative 5, those are two negatives, multiplying myself, gives us a positive value. 5 times 5 is 25. And then we have 200 divided by 25. Both are positive and give us a final answer of 8. So if we picked up on some of these clues, if you multiply and divide an even number of negatives, you get a positive, right? So negative 2 times negative 1, negative 3 times negative 5. Both of these give positive. Both of these give positive. And then positive at the end of it as well. If you multiply or divide an odd number of negatives, you get a negative at the end. So negative times a negative gives us a positive, but we also have a positive times a negative, which gives us a negative at the end. So we can never divide by 0. It is undefined. So this is a bit of an example here as to why that is. So let's say we have 10 divided by 0 is equal to some unknown number, where if we try to isolate for 10, we need to balance this out. 0 times x, anything times 0 is going to be 0. So by that logic, 10 equals 0? No, that's not true. So we cannot divide anything by 0 because it is undefined. So when we have two mathematical signs next to each other, again, similar to adding and subtracting, we can kind of clean that up a little bit. So if we have multiplied a positive, we can just simply write it as multiplication. So in this case, 3 times positive 7, we know that we can just write it as 3 times 7. Now you'll notice that you'll see us write 3 times 7 as using brackets. That's to eliminate x because we don't want to confuse that with variables. So this would be the best practice of writing multiplication. If we have division of positive, we can simply write it as divided by. So we'd have negative 8 divided by, in brackets, positive 4. That can be written as negative 8 divided by 4. Another way you'd see that would be negative 8 divided by 4. You'd see that in fraction format as well. So whenever we have two signs next to each other that cannot be written as one sign, we write the second one in brackets. So we'd have 6 divided by negative 3, or 2 times negative 4, right? So those negative signs are encompassed within the bracket. So we know to multiply the negative, or the negative sign is affecting the integer that it's associated with. And in the example, bad form would be there. We don't want to do this. So quickly evaluate. We would have negative 2 plus, in bracket, negative 3 times negative 2 plus negative 4 times negative 20. Well, to clean that up a little bit, my negative 2 is going to stay here. I would then have negative 3 times negative 2, which gives us positive 6. And then I'm adding whatever negative 4 times negative 20 is, which in this case is positive 80. So I'd have negative 2 plus 6 plus 80. Well, that simply equals 86 minus 2, which gives us 84. Final example, we have negative 6 times negative 2, adding whatever negative 3 times negative 5 is, and then subtracting 3 times negative 10. Well, negative 6 times negative 2 gives us a value of positive 12, and then we're adding negative 3 times 5, which gives us negative 15. So all I'm doing is the multiplication first. I'm just kind of keeping these signs here. I'll clean that up later. And then I'm subtracting whatever 3 times negative 10 is, which would be negative 30. So 12 plus in bracket negative 15 minus in bracket negative 30. I know from our previous lesson that I can clean these signs up. So it actually becomes 12 minus 15, right? Adding a negative is the same as subtracting. Minus negative 30 would become plus 30. So now I have 12 minus 15 plus 30, or 12 plus 15, right? Negative 15 plus 30 is 15. 12 plus 15 would give us a final value of 27.